Everyone, welcome to another Animation Friday, and today I'm going to be briefly discussing how the emotion of love is sort of a significant part of animation, I think, more so in general, and has had, I think, significant impact over the years as far as being sort of a uh, center piece for a lot of animated works, whether they be through television or through film. Uh, and I think this could be due to a variety of different factors. And I thought, considering the fact that we are in sort of in the Valentine's Day-ish uh, period, I thought it would be interesting to kind of touch in on this. Um, so when it really comes to the emotion of love and its sort of uh, impact on animation, I mean, really, if you look at the start of animation and how it sort of progressed, love was sort of at, or at least part of, a lot of the storylines that were at least trying to get themselves rolling throughout the start, really, of animation. So, for example, characters like Mickey Mouse have a uh, love interest, hence we have Minnie Mouse. We have Betty Boop, who was sort of like a sort of romantic figure during the early era of animation. So there was, I think, a lot of emphasis on trying to put love as sort of a part of animation. And obviously, this developed into a variety of different uh, circumstances and different kinds of love, from family to friendship and whatnot. Um, but I think oftentimes the reason why love is sort of a significant component to a lot of animation, whether it be comical or whether it be serious, is the fact that I think a lot of kids can get behind it, or at least kind of understand a little bit of it. Even if they don't really understand the meaning behind the word, they sort of get the emotion more easily, I think, than maybe some other emotions. And hence, I think that's why it sort of became somewhat prevalent throughout a lot of animation's history and even to animation nowadays. Um, and having these kinds of emotions being focused on, as opposed to a lot of uh, other films where in particular live action films, that focus on a more larger scale of emotions. And I think obviously too, there's a certain amount of simplicity that you could put to that, to love in that particular emotion, but also love has a certain amount of complexity to it as well. So again, it's an interesting emotion where you can play around with it, I think, more so um, than some other kinds of emotions. Um, and again, I think a lot of this is due to the fact that, again, I think love in particular is a very relationship oriented emotion, in the sense that, um, well, in particular, kids, I think, can get behind the idea of desiring some level of companionship, and um, I think it registers a lot easier, and is oftentimes the sort of kind of emotional part of a certain animated piece. And again, this has been done in a variety of ways, obviously. Sometimes they're very serious and they have a certain extent of beauty, and again, there's a certain amount of simplicity to it, but then there's also other formats into which love is treated more as comedical, and just something that is kind of, I don't know, at times could be considered ridiculous. Um, for example, I believe it is the skunk, if I'm not mistaken, from the Looney Tunes, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. I think it's Petty Le Pew, if I'm not mistaken. But he ends up sort of falling in love with, I believe it is the cat. He mistakes the cat for, I guess, a skunk or something, and he has this very like kind of crazy sort of attachment to the cat, and again, you get this kind of interesting, funny blend of reactions that the characters sort of exhibit from that emotion that Petty Le Pew feels. So, again, it's been done in so many different formats, and it has been so fascinating to see it grow throughout the years, because a lot of the times, at least within live action, you obviously are limited to in certain areas. And although there obviously love can be a huge part of live action as well, I think it just holds a significant level to animation, only because obviously with animation you can get away with a lot more. And I think the thing is too is with a lot of the ways in which animated stories are sort of told, a lot of the times they do try to center around being kind of love. Okay. Apologize, it was just my dad saying something. But my point is that specifically when it comes to this genre, you really do see its influence so prominent. Compared to, again, live action, where there's a lot more variety, I feel. But the thing is that since animation, I think, has primarily at least chosen to focus more on this angle, we've really gotten these very interesting and creative works as a result, by being focused on the family and being very, kind of just emotionally loving and caring, and you know, bringing about these concepts and ideas uh, of putting oneself uh, out there for somebody else and whatnot. It's just something that has been, I think, more common so in this genre, and I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that a lot of it early on was designed that way. Primarily, I think Walt Disney was one that really did like to emphasize that whole angle. Um, and obviously, not all animation does try to center or hone in on this particular emotion specifically, but there is a good chunk within the library of animation that you could look at that really does try to give off this very, kind of emotionally stimulating and kind of friendly and loving uh, atmosphere. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it is really centered towards children, and it is trying to bring forth these kinds of ideas um, that do appeal to children. And I think love as an emotion really does appeal to kids, because it's something that they uh, often gravitate towards to, because they oftentimes in the earlier stages, a lot of the times they wish to seek companionship and whatnot and things like that. So, and seeing other people happy as well. I mean, I think that's also a thing too that a lot of people seem to miss too, as far as understanding, kids and how they sort of think, I think, as well. So, uh, but that's just my honest thoughts. I mean, I think when you, again, this is just when you look on the broader spectrum of things, animation has been more emotionally, I think, driven as an art form, and hence we see love as more of a focus, and is more heavily emphasized than a lot of other genres that have sort of been around over the years, and hence we have these more elaborate setups that live action provides. But that's just my take on this. I'd be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say, but I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this particular topic. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I should be caught up by the end of today. Unfortunately, I was pretty busy over the weekend since it was Valentine's Day. But until next time, everybody, bye bye.